Did you happen to see yesterday, and I think a lot of people did, the Clippers were down 77-27 at the half. Now, it's caused a lot of people to say, hey, the Clippers are who they are, and this is only exposing who they are. But the truth to that is, well, it's a little different. A little different. Because I don't mind it happening now. John Hollinger wrote about losing by 50 when he was the Memphis Grizzlies GM, and they went on to have a good season and lose in the playoffs. But I think what it is a great warning, kind of alarm bell sound. They got disemboweled by the Mavericks. Disemboweled. And the crazy thing about it is, it's not like, look, could they have easily given up 150, 160 points based upon that pace? Yes. I think the big problem with the 27 points is not that just you're down 50, but you're down 50 and scored 27 points against a team that we saw them against the Lakers. They can't stop anybody. They just can't. And they're playing without Kristaps Porzingis. So it's not like they're all loaded up and they're a great team. They're still trying to figure it out. And you get beat by 50. So here's my biggest take on the Clippers. Is it alarming? Yes. Is it disappointing? Absolutely. Does it point to some chemistry issues they have? Yes. But I have no problem with them happening now. That's how you find out who you want to roll with. That's how you find out what the real problems are. Is it Doc? It doesn't appear to be Doc. Was it Montrezl Harrell? Maybe not. You look at their roster and, Landry Shamet, he's really struggling to shoot the basketball in Brooklyn, and now he'll get even more opportunities with Spencer Dinwiddie out. So maybe those guys weren't the problem. Maybe it's Reggie Jackson upsetting the apple cart with Lou Williams, or maybe it's Lou Williams being upset with how little he makes in comparison to other people scoring as much as he normally scores, although he didn't score yesterday. Whatever it is, I actually think it's so much better to get your asses just kicked and embarrassed where everybody paid attention to what happened. Every single person paid attention to what happened. And I don't understand how that cannot be alarming to somebody. I don't understand how that cannot be something that you want to try and way to figure out. And if I'm the Clippers, I quietly view this as a good thing, because it takes actually some of the pressure off of the coaching staff. Hey, Doc, I know you're going to get people to say, well, Ty Lue was on staff last year. He'll get a chance to do things differently than they did last year. Paul George put the blame on quarantine and the bubble and Doc Rivers using poorly. Yesterday, he was the guy. He couldn't get his teammates to raise their level. That's on him. Kawhi's not playing, but your team can't quit when you're not playing. That's on him. So it's my thoughts that while it's not good, I'm not sitting here telling you it's a good thing, it's way better that it happened now. And now Ty Lue gets the chance to go about, all right, fellas, now you try to do it your way. Now we can do mine. Try to do it your way. Now we can do mine. The teaching that can take place after just a beatdown win early on in a season, I think is great. I think is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely great. Even if it's an embarrassing, never before seen, down 50 at the half of a regular season game, like the biggest margin of deficit ever in a regular. You're game 3 of the season. You're going to have some weird, look, the Warriors. Do I think they're good this year? No, but are they 40 points worse than the Bucks? No, they're not. But nobody freaks out over 40 point, getting beat by 40 by the Bucks. We freak out about getting beat by down 50 at the half to the Mavericks. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. You don't want to be there. You can't just run the clock. And the other thing about it is, if you're not making shots, the other team is. They get the ball back every 24 seconds at minimum. They get the ball back. But I would also tell you that it's better to happen in game 3 than it is in game 83. It's better to happen in December than it is in April or March. 877-99 on Fox is the phone number. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, John Ramos.
and I don't think anybody feels like the Clippers are a bad team because they lost that one game. I think you're right. I think it's like that happens in the course of a season. I don't know about that that big of a loss, but they're not. They're going to be there. They're still going to make the playoffs. They're still going to be a contender for the NBA title. It's just one of those things that happens. But it's not a good look this early in the season as far as the parts that people think that the problems with the Clippers are, which is their chemistry, which is their way to be bond as a team. There's still some problems there, as you said, besides just the amount that they're a good team.
Well, remember they didn't have as much as we're like, okay, well they've had all this time together. They had a very short and truncated training camp. So this is kind of training camp on the fly, and this may sound like I'm making excuses. It's just the reality of it, you know. The reality is that while they went in a bad way, off of the, in the bubble. Like the Lakers weren't that far off from being. They weren't very good in the bubble for a while there too. They weren't feeling great about themselves, but then they got an extra couple of days off because of the protest over the Kenosha deal. And then Russell Westbrook starts talking trash to them. They win that series, and the Clippers lost a series they were up 3-1. And up 20 points in 2 third quarters and couldn't close the deal. And then they collapsed. And then the Lakers were like, oh, this is crazy. Let's go crush some dudes because the Clippers are out and the Bucks are out too. So I'm not going to make it, hey, this is cool. It happens to everybody. Clearly, everybody does not get down that amount of points. Buka, am I wrong to think that's probably exactly what Ty Lue wants, which is you don't want that phony, hey, let's run out to a good record in the season. You get thumped and embarrassed in this fashion early in the year, and it wakes some dudes up.
Yeah, you certainly hope that is the case. I'd say the problem is that it's too easy to dismiss, to blame it on the day after Christmas or the second day after Christmas, depending on which calendar you follow, that it was a 12:30 start, that you didn't have Kawhi Leonard. Like, ideally, you have a loss, and everybody has to look in the mirror and say, this isn't good enough. And there's too many alibis for why we can kind of let this go by the boards. And we even kind of heard it from Ty Lue suggesting, hope everybody's past the post-Christmas letdown that we apparently had. Look, I would have hoped that the disappointment of last year would have left a much stronger mark on this team than it has. And the concern I have is that it's reflective of the same mindset that we saw last year, which is they'd come out and show us exactly how good they could be. They'd win game. They prove they can beat anybody, and then they prove that they were willing to lay down against anybody. And that up and down is not the path. You can have a good season, you can have a good record, but you're not winning championships if that's your mindset.
Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. What are your thoughts on the Lakers? Marc Gasol, first couple games looked rough. Yeah. Look better last game out. Some older guys like to play their way into shape, but he's a different dynamic for them as a stretch 5 now that can really pass and defend the rim some, but he just doesn't really move very well at all. Right. Any buyer's remorse at all from the Lakers and what they're seeing on Marc Gasol?
No, I don't think there would be any buyer's remorse at this point, simply because they weren't expecting him to be a staple. They've got him for, honestly, it's when the game changes and in the postseason and the way they want to play in the postseason, it gives them an additional playmaker. It gives them a playmaker from the 5 position that they have not had previously. So I don't know that they're going to judge. The judgment on Marc Gasol is going to be ultimately, do they repeat as champions, and what role did he play? Because he's so significantly different than look, Dwight Howard was a vital piece last year without question, but in a completely different way. And, I also am not going to take anything from the fact that he had a good game against the Timberwolves in a run out where the level of efficiency doesn't have to be the same, or that you can beat a team like that just by being a high IQ player. I do worry how much he's going to be able to contribute. I questioned how much he has left, and the fact that Toronto was content to let him go and replace him with Aaron Baines. That to me was a signal of what they had seen. But the demands on him in LA are not that great. They need him to be special in maybe a total of 10 to 15 games this year, and there's no reason to believe that he still can't give that to him.
Who's the most surprisingly bad team out of the gate?
I didn't know if I thought the Warriors would be this bad. I don't.
Did you see Kelly Oubre has not made a shot, a non-shot, has not made a shot that's not at the rim?
What's that?
Have you seen the Kelly Oubre stat, or he is yet to make a shot that's not at the rim?
Haven't seen that stat, but I've certainly watched enough to know that both he and Kelly Oubre at least has been dynamic at times, and defensively he kind of impressed me. He looked like he was trying to impress Steve Kerr with his effort and energy against Chicago. I think it's the combination of Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins just being as combined disappointing. I mean, I've never thought of them as highly as other people have, but man, you look at them and if I'm Steve Kerr, if I'm in a close game, I'm thinking, can I play Kevon Looney, Kent Bazemore, Eric Haskell, Steph, and find me one more body that's not going to screw things up, because I just can't count on those two just to play basketball.
I know there's a lot of talk about their basketball IQ. I just, some of it though comes down to, look, the beauty to Steph is he's maybe better without the ball than he is with the ball, and there's so few players in the NBA like that. Everybody else has to have the basketball, and give me the ball, and I'll make a play.
Right.
But those guys are what you more call traditional wings, right? That's what they are. They're more the classic kind of 3-man than they are a combo guard or combo anything. Whereas, the previous incarnation of this team, outside of maybe Clay, and Clay could pass, he just doesn't dribble, right? But outside of that, you had Draymond was kind of a point center. Iguodala was a point. Bogut could really pass. Yep. Barbosa is a former point guard, kind of point guard type. Sean Livingston is a point guard at heart. We're not even getting to Durant is like a point forward as well. All of these guys could bring it up, could create. We're just as comfortable, very comfortable with the basketball, which allowed Steph to just be Steph. And now he has to do everything. He has to have that same scoring load, but also has to bring the ball up the court and has to set it. And that's just not who he is. And you're almost trying to remake Steph Curry more than remake your team.
Yeah, well, this is the distinction that I think people that is misleading for either those who are Steph Curry acolytes or those who don't want to put him in the category of Kevin Durant and LeBron James. Steph Curry has never been the type of player who can carry a team. He never carried any of those championship teams. He never carried a team of any significance. What he is a premier leader. He can lead a great team, and he can lead a great team in part because of what you pointed out, which is he can play with or without the ball. He can meld his skills to the skills to get the most out of what everyone else is capable of doing. And there are some guys that just can't do, like LeBron can't do that. LeBron has to have the ball. He's great enough with the ball that he can make it work. Steph's just a different type of superstar, and he knows he is. And that's the thing. I mean, he doesn't pretend to be anything other than what he is, but sometimes people get it mixed up in terms of defining exactly what kind of superstar he is.
That's the voice of Rick Bucher, Bleacher Report, joining us. All right, where are we with James Harden?
We're we're nowhere close from everything I'm hearing. We're nowhere close to him going any place. And I would say that the more that he plays the way he did against Portland, the harder it's going to be to get something done, because Houston's going to look at it and they're going to want a king's ransom. I've been told that they want what, at the very least, they want what New Orleans got for Anthony Davis, which is 3 young, talented players, at least one being an all-star caliber one in Brandon Ingram, and 3 future first-round picks. And even while I keep, asking, so, what is it? What's the landscape look like? Like, who makes the most sense? I've heard Boston, I've heard Denver, but the team I hear more often than not is Philadelphia. And even Philadelphia, if you look at what their pick situation is, they have theirs, but they've already spent all the additional ones that Sam Hinkie collected. And so, can they make a deal that's on the level? I don't see a team out there that's on the list of places that Harden wants to go that are capable of making the kind of deal that New Orleans got for Anthony Davis. And that's ultimately the rub. And Rafael Stone as the new GM with the Houston Rockets, and Tillman Fertitta as a relatively new owner, I just don't get. And in a market like Houston, this is different than Indianapolis moving Paul George. They're going to want to get everything they can get, and I think they're going to be willing to wait until somebody is willing to come to the table with the kind of offer that they're looking for.